Obviously on this channel I want to talk about psychedelics and how to use them and how it can actually help you awaken, because there's so much incredible beauty that can be discovered through psychedelics, but it also comes with this massive caveat that they're extremely dangerous at the same time. So I wanted to honor that side of the coin too, and obviously bringing in people like Chris who are experts in their own field and have experiences going through negative psychedelic experiences and coming through on the other end, is interviewing you about this experience. And then hopefully it can help the audience as well if they're going through something similar, or maybe if they haven't done psychedelics and they're about to, then from what you're about to say in your story, it will give them more wisdom and prepare them, I guess. So without further ado, what is this story? Well, let's get into it. So you were telling me, what was it, 13 years ago? And just tell me. And it was weed. That's just...
Yeah, so I was 21. I'm 34 now. And I'd gotten in, for about 6 months, I'd gotten into doing MDMA and a few pills and stuff like that. So I wasn't really experienced with drugs, and I wasn't into spirituality or psychedelics or anything. I was just going out and having a good time. So I went to a festival in Croatia, Outlook Festival.
Oh, wow. That's a good one. Yeah.
Well, it was shit for me.
Okay.
Because of this experience.
Yeah.
But I went out, took some MDMA, whatever. It had completely worn off in my experience. I came back and I'd smoked weed for years and years. I took 1 or maybe 2 drags on a spliff, passed it on to my mate. And then I had a massive, I'd call it a spiritual opening, although I didn't have any idea what it was at the time. The world just become immensely vivid. And it was just a big spiritual experience. And then I looked at my brother, and because I'd known my brother my whole life, I was so close to him, and I was suddenly seeing him in this completely different light, as if like there was nobody in there. I can't really remember exactly what it was, but it was something like, he doesn't exist. And when I saw that, he was moving as a body, as an animal, but he didn't exist. I just completely freaked out, and that egoless state that the weed had taken me into, this big opening, closed back in, and my ego came back, but it came back with like the full force of terror,
like a
and
vengeance.
fear, and it just drove me absolutely mental. And then I ran into the dorm out of terror, and I was up all night in terror, sort of like seeing devils and shit coming at me. And then I woke up the next day. Actually, I didn't wake up because I didn't sleep, but I got up the next day and I looked in the mirror and there was nobody there. It's not that I wasn't seeing a body. I could see my face, and my rational mind was still there saying, this is Chris, but there was no sense of self inside this body. It disappeared. And spiritual people think, oh, that's a really good thing. I want to have this.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'd
experience. Like everyone wants it.
I was like, yeah, that's.
But if you have it at the age of 21,
Yeah,
you don't
yeah.
have any understanding about spirituality, and suddenly there's no self there. It's the most terrifying, scary, darkest, driest, coldest experience you can ever experience. And what I would say is I had a premature ego death. And then my ego came back, but it came back in full force. The ego death experience was still there. The no self place was still there, but there was a fucking freaked out mind trying to get back some sense of reality.
Right.
And then I kept, because I got so freaked out, I kept tripping and having all sorts of spiritual experiences, which I had no idea what they were. All I wanted was to get back to my reality, which had been shattered overnight. Yeah. And it felt like I lost my whole family, I lost my whole world.
Really?
It felt like everybody I knew had died, and it felt like I'd lost every single ounce of my own soul.
When you say, was that because you felt as though everyone wasn't real? Was that what it was, or you couldn't ground yourself into the connection?
Again, I can talk about this now.
Yeah, sure.
But at the time, I was just freaked out.
That's what it felt like.
I was just freaked out. I didn't know what it was, but I was having spiritual insights, the same spiritual insights I have now.
Yeah.
But they were freaking me out. Instead of bringing joy and bliss and peace, they were freaking me out. So I think because I'd come to a no self realization within myself without knowing that's what it was, I'd seen through the illusion that I was a real self in a way.
Yeah.
Although obviously we can talk about that in lots of different ways.
Of course.
Then I was looking at my dad or my mum, and I was seeing there's nobody there.
Yeah.
But there's nobody there, and I fuck, what the fuck is that? Like, my dad doesn't exist.
Yeah,
like, my
yeah.
dog doesn't exist. Yeah. And so it was a premature spiritual awakening that I was just completely unprepared for psychologically.
So I find these stories fascinating, and actually recently, I don't know if I even told you this, but I've been on a bit of a rabbit hole about reading people's trip reports, good and bad, especially salvia. I don't know if you've heard of salvia, which is like a really potent psychedelic. And just like feeling really drawn into these really wild and vivid psychedelic experiences that people can have taking them. So what I found interesting, so you smoked weed before, and you said you've done it how many times? Well, who knows? It was like every day almost.
You said. Like hundreds,
Because the real question is like, what made that happen? Like, that was something was boiling at under the surface, right? Like, what caused it then? Like, why then?
That's I mean, I could answer it in a different way. I would say that there's no logical reason why that happened. It might have been a combination of the MDMA I'd taken earlier. But it was by far the most important moment of my entire life.
Wow.
Was that moment. So looking back, I would say that day is the single most important day of my life.
That's crazy.
The single worst day of my life.
Yeah.
And the worst years following that. But that was the turning point in my life.
Yeah.
And I've basically been catching up.
Yeah.
and coming back to peace from there. It shifted my entire life. So I think it was divinely orchestrated for me to have that experience.
Yeah. Because we were just touching on that, and I was really enjoying what you were talking about earlier regarding the potential of this being a build-up of possibly other things happening to you in other lives, maybe, who knows. Well, just talk quickly about that if you can remember what you said.
Yeah, I mean, when I talk to you, we're just being fun and playing with ideas, so I can be a little bit looser in talking like about maybe it was past lives and stuff like that. But when I'm talking to an audience or something, I wouldn't want to talk about something that I don't know to be true. For sure,
that's cool. I appreciate that. Yeah.
So if I was to say, oh, we'd had past lives, I might have meditated in loads of past lives, and I've had psychics tell me that and stuff like that.
But you haven't verified that yet.
It's not 100% true. It's what I believe.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't really talk about that.
No, I really appreciate that. That's actually kind of a point that I like to propel as well. Don't speak about things that is an idea versus what you actually experienced. So, and if you do, at least add that caveat of being like, it could have been this. It sounds like it's a nice idea, but I actually don't know.
Yeah, so I could say that. I perhaps have a belief now, based on spiritual teachers I've spoken to and psychics I've spoken to, that I've meditated a lot in past lives. So there was an openness for me to have a big spiritual opening without having done much spiritual practice, just from smoking a spliff, because in past lives I'd opened and opened and opened. So it just came back in one big burst in that moment. So I could say that as a belief.
As a belief, and add that as an asterisk, just so you're not like leading people astray. So no, really, really appreciate that. Actually, that's the kind of point of this whole channel. Actually, is to kind of cut through the bullshit and say what is actually true versus not true. So I think that's actually the heart of spirituality, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
So anyway, throwing that out the window now. So this happened, and you said it's the most important experience you've ever had. What happened after? So it seemed like it actually led you down to the journey you're on now, right?
So the first 3 weeks I was just in complete freak out. Basically didn't sleep for 2 weeks, and I mean that, like, hardly slept. Like, maybe I could say I even got like 0 sleep for 2 weeks.
Wow.
I might have had a few lucid dreams here and there, but I was so freaked out. I was fucking seeing things, visions of demons flying into my face and all sorts of mad stuff. But essentially I entered into a state of just intense terror, panic, fear, and the immense fear of losing control and losing my mind, and this holding on tight. And it was at its worst for a month until I found a psychologist who wasn't into spirituality. And then I just threw myself full ball into learning everything I could about the mind, everything I could about psychology. Quit drink, quit weed, quit all drugs, quit caffeine. Got really healthy.
What age was this now? And
21.
21. So still at 21, so you're still...
Within a month, I found my way to a psychologist, and then I started really working on it. But for the first 3 years, I was basically in a hell realm.
Flipping hell.
Yeah.
It's crazy how people underestimate weed.
Yep.
You know, this is probably not that uncommon. I've had freakouts definitely that have really shaken me to my core with weed, but very luckily, touch wood, it hasn't like persisted. But there is something to it that can really unlock something within you, right?
Well, yeah. Well, like you say, there's a. I was looking at all the diagnosis. I could say I had depersonalization or, what is it? Hallucinogen assisting perception disorder.
Because this is the one that I found interesting and probably the one that's good to talk about, because if someone's about to use psychedelics, whether it's weed, ayahuasca or DMT or salvia probably, or probably not, but how can they, well, like let's say that might actually be a possibility to have that, what you're talking about, where actually the hallucination never stops. Like, I mean, I don't know what the statistics are, but it's possible. People need to know that that's what they're getting themselves in for.
So what I would say to that is, I don't want to put anybody off doing psychedelics, because even though it was the most difficult thing of my life, and even though it's taken years and years to recover, it's also the best thing that ever happened to me. So even though it sent me into immense suffering for many years, that wasn't a bad thing. It was what was meant to happen. So what am I trying to say? Like, I never want to scare people who are thinking of taking psychedelics, because the worst thing you can do is go into taking them thinking, shit, this real bad thing could happen to me. I don't want that to happen. So what I would say is, just be cautious. Make sure that there's a really true calling in your heart, and that this is something that you want to do from a really true place. Like, your heart really knows that it's good, and you have good intentions. You're going into it because you want to heal. You're going into it because you want to create a better life for yourself. You're putting yourself in an environment with people who are going to support you through the experience. And if you do that in a way where it's safe and you have a good intention, then I think it would probably go absolutely fine, and you wouldn't have tragic experiences.
That's a great point, because a lot of people, when they do have bad trips, maybe it's because the setting and the environment was wrong, and the people that they were with, it was more done recreationally.
Dude, I went out clubbing with a bunch of psychos. I was terrified even before. I had a premonition that this trip was something really bad was going to happen, and I really didn't want to go. And I had the peer pressure of all my friends, come and take these drugs and do this thing. So I went into it from a really unconscious, dark place. And so it gave me a really difficult, challenging lesson. But if you're listening to this, you're probably entering into psychedelics from a more conscious place.
Exactly.
So I would say, don't be afraid. I'm never going to encourage people to do it, because that's not my path to encourage people to do it. But yeah, don't be afraid if your heart is called towards it, and you feel like you're going to do it. Then just do it with consciousness, do it with presence, do it with awareness, and make sure that you have a really solid, good reason why you're going to do it. And you're not just doing it for fun, or you're doing it because you think you're going to get instant enlightenment or something like that.
I think as well, having a backup plan is really important, whether it's if you're taking ayahuasca, if you're going on a retreat, and the setting and the environment is pure, and your intentions are pure, you want something afterwards to make sure you're going to be able to integrate what you've experienced, whether it's you're going to see some therapist for a couple of sessions, or make sure you've got a good support system around you, and know that this is a possibility, but like you say, don't be scared of it. What I find interesting, because I've had an experience like yours, similar but didn't last. So touch wood, it was only for a night, but it sounded similar in a sense where before I took the puff, I knew that this is not good. I had this weird sensation that I shouldn't be doing this, but I just did it anyway. Like my being was depleted, and I didn't even do that much, but I remember it felt as though I was dying, and I was so sure that I would be dead. And I remember even phoning the paramedics, and obviously they came, and I told them that what I'd done, and they just laughed at me. But this intense like fear. And if I would have been more wild, and obviously I was with friends, and it was just like this recreational moment. It was stupid, but yeah, I can really relate to that. And we were also talking about, I've lost 2 friends now through. One of them, wouldn't say it was improper use, but just the lack of knowledge around it. and unfortunately it caused him to take his own life. So it's something that you shouldn't. Well, you should just be really aware of what you're doing and getting yourself into, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, and yeah, 100%. You'd be aware of it, and also know that if after you've done it and you are one of these people who goes into a bad experience and you get freaked out and you're in a load of panic, that there's a way out of that.
Right.
Because it can feel like, and this is what I really want to talk about. I don't care about talking about my experiences. I don't care about warning people about psychedelics. What I'm wanting to do is help people who have been through a bad trip, who are freaking out, who want to find a way back to peace and safety.
Yeah, can you talk about that then? Because that's really interesting. So obviously you've had this experience. It helped you sort certain aspects of your life out. Quit drinking, and then how did you get out of it? And go in detailed as you want, because it's interesting.
Yeah. So like I say, this is the most important thing for me to talk about, and in a way, I'm a bit nervous about talking about it because it means a lot to me. But the first thing, a really, really important thing to realize is that you're not a victim to life. Everything that happens in life happens for a reason. And the most difficult, challenging, most painful, horrible things that happen, and if somebody's listening and they've been in this hell world that I've described for weeks or months or even years, then it's important to get the realization that this is here to help your life. This is here to help you actually go through a shift. And if you use the suffering for your own transformation, if you use the fear for your own transformation, then it can bring about a transformation.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I really want to drill home. Nobody's a victim to life. Even someone who's going through a really bad time after these drugs, you're not a victim to it. Nothing's gone wrong.
Yeah.
God isn't punishing you. This has gone right. Okay, so then how do you use it? That's the question. And I made hundreds of videos on what you can do to use this specific suffering that these experiences can cause to help you awaken out of the mind and to help you come back to inner peace. But the number one thing I would say, I'd say there's two things that are most important. Number one is become very, very aware of the thoughts moving through the head. We need to learn to not believe the thoughts in the head, because the thoughts in your head will be saying, I'm doomed. Will be saying, I'm going to go crazy. You don't know that you're going to go crazy. If you're having the thought, I'm going to go crazy, you haven't gone crazy. If you're having thoughts, I'm going to go crazy, if you're having scary thoughts and you're like, shit, I'm having all these thoughts, you haven't gone crazy. You're aware of the thoughts inside of your head. So become really, really conscious of what the thoughts are saying. And know that you are not the thoughts inside of your head. You're the one who sees them. You're the one who's aware of them. You're this clear, free space which the crazy thoughts are arising within. And learning through all sorts of different practices, it might be meditation or self-inquiry or whatever, to get more and more in touch with that space of freedom which is clear, which isn't crazy, which will never go crazy, and which is the same presence that you were when you were a joyful, peaceful young child. That presence never goes away. You haven't broken yourself. And you can come back to that peace, which everybody knows deep down is possible. So that'd be the number one thing I would say.
Love that.
And the second is you've got to love the fucking shit out of yourself. Because there's a terrified child inside who's absolutely been freaked out by this experience. And this experience is throwing up every single psychological, emotional wound that you've ever picked up in this life, and maybe even in previous lives. And so you have to learn to love the shit out of yourself, to bring this awareness into your body, to meet your body, to hold your body, to be sweet with your body, to be sweet with every emotional wave that comes up. And through these two things, you find clarity of mind, you stop believing your thoughts, and you start to heal the nervous system, which quite likely is incredibly shaken up and needs a lot of healing. And that takes time, and that takes patience. But in this process, you go deeper and deeper and deeper into this integrated sense of peace and goodness inside. You discover your being, but you discover it in a way where it's like, yes, you're rested and safe within your being. You haven't had some big ayahuasca experience where it's like, oh my God, I'm everything. No, you're gently, peacefully, lovingly knowing the goodness of being. And then you're at peace, you're at joy, and you feel complete inside. So I went off on one of them.
No,
But that's
that's
what I
amazing.
wanted to say. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. That's exactly what I wanted you to do.
Yeah.
Because just earlier as well, we were talking about and I'm sure the people that are watching this probably have had some kind of glimpse into this, or if they haven't, that they're searching for it. Exactly what you're saying, that actually there's the truth to you. There's a truth to you, to your natural state, that if you're hearing this for the first time, it seems unbelievable, that you just can't believe that it's actually your natural state is peace, love, unity. And the ego is the thing that regurgitates all your shadows or brings up hell to then make you go through that to then get back to that eventually. Could you talk a bit about that as well?
What, the purge?
Yeah. So how, because this experience is essentially, without you wanting it to, just thrown you into this, and then now, because in a weird, it's so counterintuitive. Why is it realizing the nature of the self and all the glory that comes with that does then, boom, you're thrown into a dark night of the soul? Because that's so common, and I've been through that cycle like infinite amount of times.
Yeah. Let me have a think.
Unless should I explain it a bit better? Did I explain it? Okay?
No, I think that's a good question.
Yeah.
We've spent a whole lifetime keeping ourselves safe by developing this ego which has been created out of emotional, psychological patterns. And it might not even be just one lifetime you've picked this up. If you believe in past lives, could be from past lifetimes. Or if you don't even believe in that, you've inherited it through your parents and their parents and their parents. So we've got generations and generations and generations of tight conditioning to make us believe that we are this separate self, and that was all developed in order to keep us safe. We developed into this sense of this egoic identity to be safe in a world where everybody else is acting from that egoic identity. So then when you open to presence, either through, the best way would be gently through meditation over many years, and this stuff gradually releases from you. But if you're someone who's been catapulted into it through not accidentally smoking a spliff, but through smoking a spliff and accidentally having a big opening, then all of the conditioning is going to freaking fly up into the truth that you've recognized.
And it's just a constant process, isn't it, from then on in?
And then but it's coming up, actually, the deepest reality of it is it's coming up to be purged from you. It's coming up to be released from you. Life wants us to be liberated. And one way we're liberated is by liberating what's held within the body and within the subconscious mind. The subconscious mind, of course, is held within the body. Two and the same. But there's a process. It's recognizing your true nature, this presence which is here right now, which is looking through our eyes, which can be gorgeous. But then within that presence, the body mind needs to unwind. And what happens is the more you recognize that presence, the more your body and your mind start to become more like what that presence is. So you start to become more like a person. You start to become a person with qualities which are the same as what that presence is. So if I ask you, what are the qualities of that presence?
It's eternal. It's always there, I think, which is a really beautiful aspect to it. It never goes away. So from that perspective, fear can't exist there. It can't be fearful. It is love. It is love. It's pure acceptance of everything, because it's containing everything. It's inherently, for some whatever reason, especially when it's accessed through our normal day-to-day waking state, where it's through meditation or self-inquiry, it's very peaceful. So in a sense, it would make sense that you would embody all of those qualities: a life without fear, a peaceful life, a loving life, and that would bleed into your personality. That's it, isn't it?
And those qualities, or that beingness, is going to try and purge everything within you
that isn't
which
that
isn't
yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
because it wants you
It's
to
vomiting
become a
it,
person
right
with those qualities. You know, we a lot of spiritual people. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say that ties back to what you were just saying just a second ago about you're not a victim then if you've gone through a really hellish experience on whether it's psychedelics or it could just be through meditation or yoga, that actually it's to bring you back to that state, and in a weird way it might be a blessing in the future if you continue.
It will be a blessing if your intention is to use it completely sincerely for your own healing and for your own awakening. I don't believe there's any experience that anyone can have which can't be used for your own healing and for your liberation if the intention's there. If you carry on smoking and drinking and ignoring it and going through the habit of life, and it might just turn over and over until you die. But if you have the intention to use it wisely, then it can lead to a transformation.
Exactly it. Because really the path for me has actually been how well am I developing a relationship with truth, and you start to fall in love with that. And I think when you're at that point, you're basically mature enough. It's becoming mature enough within yourself to understand yourself, your limits, and just the actions that you're taking. Unfortunately, obviously with something like 5-MeO, which is so strong, or ayahuasca, because they can be really powerful, there always is that element of gamble. But if you know that that's what you're doing, I think there can be, I really like psychedelics, and I think they are misunderstood and also not fully, we haven't fully figured them out yet, I don't think, as a society as a whole. However, at the same time, you need to approach them with massive caution, and hopefully this video has illustrated that, and the tips that you've given, and also just your story. And I'm kind of I think you're right, really just equip people with the tools, and then everyone can make their own decision, can't they? Right or wrong, and if they do it and then they fall into this dark night of the soul, then they can do what you've said, and we can offer tools and tips to help people out of that.
Yeah. There's no shortcut to freedom. This is a long path. As much as people get into it, they're like, right, I'm gonna bloody do it. It takes time, and so you just put in the work, you put in the meditation, you put in the inquiry, you keep going, and then you might have some psychedelics which support you on the way. That has been my path, actually. I did it once. But it's a gradual thing, and there's something beautiful about that. We're in such a rush. But no, it's okay, we've got time.
Absolutely. I learned that on a retreat 2 years ago. I had that insight of just slowing everything down. Everything's already here. Everything is already here. Was it a process of just surrendering more and more and letting go into just pure effortlessness, would you say?
Well, I developed an incredibly strong seeker because I was in such hell. I developed this immense seeker. Like, I used to travel 7 hours on the train for a 2-hour meeting with my teacher, and then travel 7 hours back. And I honestly, I would have walked around the world on broken glass to get what I was looking for, which was freedom and which was peace. So I tried every single freaking technique under the sun, and that meant 10 hours a day meditating in the woods for years, constant inquiry. I'd done every single thing that you can possibly do to seek. I mean, not everything, there's other things as well, but I did a lot of seeking. And seeking isn't bad, because what it gives you is insights, even though eventually the seeking needs to drop and you need to realize, oh, what the hell, it's just here, it's just lovely. The seeking, the fire, I would never put someone's fire out and say, like, okay, stop seeking.
Someone said it's a bit like the analogy of that is you're on a boat and you're heading to an island and you burn your boat because you realize that the boat is stopping you from getting to the island, but you're still at the sea, you're still in the sea. Even though it's a really weird paradox, even though it's all illusionary, but still you kind of need that seeker to actually start the journey. Otherwise we'd all be there.
And the seeker can get glimpses.
The
seeker can and does get glimpses, and lots of glimpses. And when you have a glimpse of something at peace, when you're really, really suffering, like I was and like lots of us are, when you glimpse peace, even if it's just a taste, you freaking fall in love with it. And then you just go for it, and you keep trying for the glimpses and the glimpses, and then they grow and then they grow, and then at a certain point it's not glimpses anymore, It's that goodness is just here. It's
here.
more dominant than what you were before.
I actually have a funny story about that, where I was on a long retreat as well, and the schedule was quite intense, and it was the morning meditation. I think we were doing like some pranayama, and we went into this meditation, and it was guided, I think, and the seeker went, I guess is the best way to describe it. I was like, oh, this is what I've been looking for all this time. This is why I'm doing all this stuff, is to kind of fall into this place. I can't even describe it. It was like beyond words. It felt very similar to death, but at the same time, inherently like extremely peaceful. I was like, this is why you could sit on a park bench forever.
Yeah.
But I couldn't let it go.
Couldn't let what go?
I couldn't let the seeker go, because I was like, oh, we've got yoga next in like 5 minutes. I was actually attached, almost a bit addicted
to the seeking.
Yeah. Because it's like, oh, I've got yoga now, and I wanted to be this guy that's doing like 10 hours of meditation every day and going on all these retreats and having all these mystical experiences. But actually the very thing that was driving that was the thing that was kind of getting in the way as well at the same time. It was fascinating. And I couldn't, during that period, I couldn't let it go. But then the insight was there that actually happened. So I was like, okay, so I need to be more aware of that.
And it's a funny thing, because if you're in an experience of like whatever you were in, that cloudy warmth or whatever you want to call it, and you see, oh, there's still a seeker here, and if you say, I want to get rid of that seeker, then it's going to make him hold on more.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
you can't do anything to get rid of it.
Yeah.
You can't do anything to get rid of it. It's actually magical. It's almost like this awakening just happens. It's coming for you.
Yeah.
It's like it's coming for you.
You don't really have a choice.
You don't have a choice. But the seeker plays a role. The seeker is part of it. Yeah.
I know I don't want to take this too long, but I once recently as well saw, because this happened to me too, and I don't know if you can relate to this. This might be a bit off topic, but actually after that realization, I started to almost try and rebel against the seeker. But then at the same time, I couldn't, because it's also somewhere a part of me driving me, right? And I almost then stopped taking life seriously, and it became this like weird paradox that actually there are times where I need to honor the seeker or honor the person. Like, the stories that we have about ourselves, they can really lead us to such immense suffering. And then at the same time, you can almost honor the story too, right? It's like this weird paradox. As an example, like, I've always wanted to be like a filmmaker and make a movie. I've always wanted to do that. But then I realized that actually that's just tied up in a story. It doesn't necessarily have to be that case. But me denying that story actually led to even more problems, or I could have just honored that story. Have you ever thought that, or what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's something in that. Like, spiritual weird, people can think we need to deny life somehow. But just like a child is born with certain desire, a young child doesn't have an ego, but the young child might be born with a certain desire to build sandcastles. And if you were to say to the child, hey, no, don't build the sandcastles, that's your ego, you need to sit and enjoy it in peace instead. Then you'd be denying the movement of life. And that is the opposite of the direction that you want to go. It's like following your heart. A good feeling of something you want to do in your heart is never ego. That's not ego, that's the movement of life. And if you resist it, you're resisting the flow of life, and you're actually clogging up your chakra system. Right. You're clogging up. I mean, this is another way of talking about awakening, is the clearing of the energetic system. But if you're not moving authentically, then your expression, the chakra system's closed down. The chakra system opens up by living authentically and doing what you want to do.
That's basically what spiritual bypassing is, isn't it? It's so easy to fall into that. I've fallen into that many times. We'll have to do more videos. I think this is the start of many to come, hopefully. But thank you so much for sharing your story, because I know it's not easy, and offering all these amazing tips.
Also, I just say jump onto my channel, subscribe to the channel, and then all the information underneath there will be there, email address and stuff like that. Just send me an email if you want any support or anything like that. We'll get back to you.
Fabulous. Thank you,
Dom.
No worries. Cheers.